Wow, it's been a while. You guys are probably wondering where I've been. Well, don't worry. I'm still alive. Oh, and Brutus is here too.
Yeah, I'm here too.
So yeah, welcome to Austin Nation TV. Let's start the show.
My cock is much bigger than yours. My cock can walk right through the door.
God damn it. It's here. It's done. Part 4. The final part of my year-end list for 2019. We're taking a look at 15 of the best albums of the year, in my opinion. So if an album you like isn't on here, oh well, that's your opinion. You can have it. I don't care. But these are just albums that I thoroughly enjoyed throughout the year of 2019. Now, anything that has come out past November 18th up until now will not count. It will not be on this list. Sorry, the timing was off with that. Anyway, yeah, let's just get us started with a familiar face at number 15.
Number 15.
So when you think about it, Weezer technically released 2 albums this year, as they did count their Teal album, the Covers album, as an official studio release. Then we finally got the long-awaited Black album. Now, was this album great? By all means, no. But I definitely think the first 6 tracks, minus Piece of Cake, songs 1 through 4 and track 6, definitely are the biggest part of the album. They carry the album. I feel like Can't Knock the Hustle was a decent introduction. I love that bass line. It's so catchy. Zombie Bastards took a while to grow on me, along with High as a Kite, and Living in LA is a, absolute banger too. I felt like the second half of the album, Past I'm Just Being Honest, really was hit or miss, and it's at number 15 because I didn't hate it, I liked it, and I think that's just basically why it's so high, because I know Weezer's done better, and I'm really hoping that this new album next year, Van Weezer, definitely tops anything they've done in the past 20 years, because the song they released for it sounds great. But the problem with this one was they made it out to be like this was going to be the darkest album we ever made, and I'm sitting there going, really? Because, Pinkerton's still around, and I know you don't really like that album, but I mean, to me, that's still and will always be the darkest Weezer album. But this thing is not bad. It's definitely one I would say give a listen to, especially the 5 songs that I mentioned. And if you want to give a listen to the other 5 songs, be my guest. They're not that great, but you might like them. I don't know.
Burger King foot lettuce.
10 years in the making, and Rammstein come back with Untitled. It is a mixture of electronic and just alternative rock. They do it in a good way, as they usually do. I heard Radio right before the album came out. Definitely loved the way it sounded, and just the different directions they take this thing make it highly, highly interesting.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Bad Flower will win a Grammy. Mark my words, they will do it. I just have that feeling. If this album doesn't win a Grammy, then fuck the Grammys. That's all I gotta say. Okay, I'm Sick is awesome, and a great debut album that we will be looking back 10 years down the line and going, this is one of the best debut albums probably in the history of the 2010s.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Denzel Curry comes back with the short but sweet Zoo, which had a lot of great tracks, a lot of great flow in this. It had its down moments, don't worry, it did, but it really lifted me up more than anything. Ricky is a banger, as you saw if you watched my top 30 songs of the year list. I fucking love that thing, and Denzel tends to do this where he'll release like a serious long album and then do like more of a shorter type album, so expect his next project to be a little bit more worked on and ready for a like mainstream release.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Bad Religion. Yeah. Okay, sure. Kind of came out of nowhere in 2019, but I mean, in the days of political views and all this kind of stuff and the election happening, I mean, they were bound to make a return sooner than later. My question is, where the hell were you during the 2016 election? You just decided to pop up now when Donald Trump was already president? Sure. A little too late now, guys. But, you know, still a rockin' punk album.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Another one that I was very up and down on at first, but the more I listen, the more I go, yeah, you know. I mean, tracks 1 through 8 on Ammo definitely carry it. I do like the little interludes they throw into there. But then once you get to track 9, it all just kind of, you know, hit or miss. Why you gotta kick me when I'm down? I do like Fresh Bruises. Mother Tongue I'm not a big fan of, and I like heavy metal. And Do You Know What I'm Saying, or whatever the song is called, I don't know. I feel mixed on it. But other than that, Bring Me the Horizon show you their multiple talents. Ali Sykes' vocal range goes all over the place, and it still does its job, and was definitely different from what I was maybe expecting. I thought maybe it was going to sound more like That's the Spirit. But Ammo definitely has a sound of its own that I think people look back on and go, yeah, you know, wasn't half bad. And the fact that Bring Me the Horizon says they don't want to release albums anymore, they said they're going to release like a couple of releases next year, but it's not going to be like full-length, like 12-song projects. It's going to be shorter stuff, so it'll be interesting to see that direction they take. So enjoy Ammo while you can, because we're probably never going to get something like this again.
Burger King foot lettuce.
American Football with their third LP, their second since returning in 2015. Yeah, I mean, it took me a while to get through the, 8 tracks on this thing, because the songs are long. But, you know, it had a lot of great features, and I felt like they were definitely back to the emo thing that they were, you know, able to do early on. It was definitely like a good, like, return to form in a way.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Jack White just keeps impressing. The Raconteurs, Help a Stranger. Blues rock, indie rock, alternative rock, garage rock. It's just all done so well by the talented musician that is Mr. White. So please give it a listen. The song I would recommend is Baby Driver. That song kicks ass. Definitely kicks ass.
Burger King foot lettuce.
I went back in the recording and realized I forgot to record number 7. So, yeah. I don't use the term sophomore slump lately, and even though I don't really think this is a sophomore slump, but it's not as good as their debut album. But the Regrets really returned with How Do You Love. I mean, like I said, I enjoy their debut album better, but How Do You Love definitely has some, you know, great tracks on it. California Friends definitely has grown on me. I love Dress Up and Has It Hit You are 2 of my favorites from that album, 2 of my favorites of theirs all time. Just the catchiness and the powerfulness of, God, why do I keep forgetting names? Like, I write them down, and then I forget them, and I don't know what I did with it. So we're just going to leave it at that. The lead singer has good vocals. It was Lydia Knight, by the way, I remembered. And, yeah, this band should definitely be on the rise sooner than later, because they mix a lot of doo-wop-y stuff with, like, indie rock and garage rock and punk rock. It's all over the place, but it's cool and strong in ways, if you catch my drift.
Burger King foot lettuce.
So yeah, Fever 333 showed up. And they're not going anywhere. Holy shit, they're hardcore. Hardcore, political, and just in your fucking face. And I gotta say, I like it. I hope for more in the future. Please. Please. I'm ready.
Burger King foot lettuce.
So, finally, Joe Trobin and Andy Hurley of Fall Out Boy get to show off their talents that they haven't showed off in years. With The Damned Things and their new album High Crimes, which, spoiler alert, is right here behind me, hanging up on the wall, because it's one of my favorite albums of the year. That and it's a special edition baby blue vinyl. I mean, when I first heard the song Cells and saw the music video, I was like, this band likes to fool around, because I didn't really listen to their debut album. I think I may have heard it before, but just kind of forgot about it, Ironclass. But I went back and listened to that, and I go, huh, it is different from their debut album, but there's just a lot of catchy songs. The riffs go hard, and for a band that features people from, I think, Alkaline Trio, Anthrax, and Fall Out Boy, you'd be honestly surprised at what you would get from the finishing product. They mesh completely well, and it shows.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Slipknot's back with We Are Not Your Kind, and for this one, I'm actually going to let Brutus take it for you guys, so take it away, Brutus.
I got a makeover, bitches. Yeah, the album that I was a part of. Yeah, bet you didn't know I was a part of it now. Still working my way on becoming the 10th member. Is now that I don't look anything like supposedly 2004 Corey Taylor. He took my style. Let's be honest. He got it from me. But I'm back from the depths of hell, getting you updated on Austin's top 20? Was it 20? No, it was 15. Top 15 albums of the year list. And he included my band Slipknot's We Are Not Your Kind on here at number 4. And I gotta say, I applaud him for it. I would put it at number 1 because we love everything we do. And yeah, I mean, I helped write songs like Spiders, Not Long for This World, and well, that's what I did backing vocals on. I actually wrote the songs like Birth of the Cruel, Nero Forte, and I was the one who kind of encouraged Corey to go out of his vocal range a little bit more and try to experiment with a lot more things. But, you know, I mean, hey, who doesn't love Slipknot? Who doesn't love Slipknot? We hit the Billboard, bitches, and that's an accomplishment in itself nowadays for a metal band that people used to think were weird because they wore masks. I mean, you know what? We won this year. We won this year. And you cannot take that from us.
Thank you, Brutus, for that great insight. We appreciate it. I mean, I agree with a lot of what he said. I mean, I didn't put it at number 1 for a reason, but you know, it's a nice one. It's a nice one that should be recognized for what it is.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Here we are at number 3, a band that has brought metalcore more and more to the masses, but throwing a trap tinge in with it, it's highly intriguing and interesting. I Prevail's sophomore album, Trauma. Now, they avoided the sophomore slump big. I didn't hear their debut album. I still haven't heard it. I mean to go back and listen to it, but I'm kind of very busy right now doing a whole lot of things. So, you know, when the time comes, I will get there. But once I popped in the CD and heard Bow Down, I was like, wow, we're in for a lot. Because all I'd really heard was the song Breaking Down on the radio. I'd really heard nothing else. So I didn't really know what to expect. Like, I kind of figured this is what's going to be on it. But I was like, but there could be a lot more than just this song. And there definitely was. It was entertaining. Gasoline is also fire, no pun intended, and I would definitely recommend to listen. If you're not into the metalcore, then you'll definitely like the trap, side to the album, and maybe it'll get you to appreciate the metalcore just a little bit more.
Burger King foot lettuce.
Number 2, a band that has changed so much over the years, but they've changed in the right way, where they've kind of gone in the right direction and seem to have gotten more political. They tell you they won't, but they definitely have. Sum 41's Order and Decline almost got a perfect score. It was awesome though. It was awesome just to see them kind of, I loved their 13 Voices album in 2016. It was a nice little comeback, and I mean 45, A Matter of Time is a great song. Out for Blood. I don't know why I didn't include that on my favorite songs of the year list. Now I feel stupid. But, hey, that's a great song, too. I mean, it has a mixture of, old Sum 41, but they've gone a lot more metal. Back then they were more skater, punk, and mixture of new metal, I guess. What they used to rap in their tracks, but now they're adding definitely a lot more heavy metal influence, the thrash metal in there, and it really bodes well and shows off the talent that is there. I would definitely recommend giving this album a listen and just... not even a listen, a couple listens, and trust me, you will be fascinated in the end. Whoa, different shirt. How did that happen? Actually, this is me 5 days later after filming what you just saw, because during my time editing the video, I realized I forgot to include the 5 honorable mentions that I meant to do before I get to number 1. So, that's what we're here to do. Let's get through these 5 honorable mentions that barely missed the list. King Gizzard is a weird band because they seem to do a whole lot of different things when they do release something. They never sound the same, and that definitely does make them interesting, but I never thought they would go thrash metal. Infest the Rat's Nest, that gets me every time. It was a big departure from Fishing for Fishies, which was definitely more alternative side, whereas this one had some guitar solos mixed in, and you can just definitely hear the thrash influences. It was highly enjoyable, and definitely one that I would say go listen to, especially if you're not a King Gizzard fan but you're a thrash metal fan. It'll take you back to 80s Metallica. I mean, it's just that good. Finally, after 13 long years, Tool return. Here's the reason it didn't make the list and is an honorable mention. I liked the album. I thought it was good. But listening to it, I was like, was it really worth the 13-year wait? And no, it wasn't really. It was just kind of... not underwhelming, but it was just kind of like, yeah, we waited 13 years to hear the same thing pretty much we heard throughout their first 4 or 5 albums. And the songs are just god-awfully long. I know Tool makes long songs, but every song apart from the Chocolate Chip Trip and the interludes were over 10 minutes long, and it just dragged the album out. And it was just something where I was like, okay, I've listened to 2 songs and it's been 30 minutes already. This album just, it didn't move on fast enough. Had it been an hour long, that's fine. I've listened to stuff like that before, but this thing was, well, I think it was an hour long, but it was fairly short for what it was. But even at that, it's just it carries on way too much. But in the end, it's still Tool being cinematic and artsy and, at least taking their time with this and making something out of it instead of it kind of, not being anything. It had an identity, and it stuck with it. I don't usually include soundtracks on here, but the video game Death Stranding has a pretty interesting one. From Khalid on song like Trigger with Major Lazer, Churches with the title track, and Bring Me the Horizon with Ludens. It was a trip. It definitely was. 8 songs, not too long of an album. As a matter of fact, Bring Me the Horizon, Churches had the 2 longest songs on the album. And it seemed like all these songs fit the atmosphere of what the video game is supposed to be. Because you hear a lot of movie soundtracks and a lot of songs made for movies. And a lot of the times, to me, it just feels like the artist or band is trying to collect that paycheck. They really don't think about it that much. But these songs feel like they belong, and it felt like the artist took time and said, how can we make it work with the video game? I mean, heck, Bring Me the Horizon even used actual quotes in their lyrics from the video game, which make it a whole lot more clever. It's definitely, it's short, and it would be something that I would say if you're into the game and you've heard these songs, you get what I'm saying, because that's probably where most people have heard it from. But if you haven't and you're not really into the game, just go take a listen to the soundtrack, and I can promise you, you'll be entertained all throughout. So, Baby Metal, wow. I never really took a listen to this band beforehand, and then people kept saying, most of my friends who are metalheads kept saying, you gotta check out Baby Metal, because I thought it was just kind of like this, Japanese kind of just girly, not prissy, but girly thing, and I was just kind of like, Dad, I'm not really a rainbows and sunshine kind of guy. But these girls can rock, and whoever they have behind the instruments definitely do well too. I definitely underestimated them. It's more of, this album came out later in the year, that's more why it's an honorable mention, because it really hasn't had time for me to suit in yet, but it's definitely close, and one of the reasons why it made the honorable mentions.
Wait a minute. I'm only an honorable mention. I come on this show, spit those hot bars for you, and you're only gonna put my album in an honorable mention? You know what? Fuck you. I'm fucking done. Don't ever come to me back on your fucking channel again. You're a motherfucker.
I know what you're thinking. Didn't you give this thing a 5 out of 10?
Asshole.
Yeah, but Post Malone always tends to have just a lot of good songs on his projects, and Hollywood's Bleeding was definitely a departure from that of a Beer Bongs and Bentleys. His first two albums are different from each other, but I feel like with Beer Bongs and Bentleys, he definitely, it's strictly a rap album, but with Hollywood's Bleeding, you get poppy tracks. I mean, you still get the rap tracks, like Goodbyes and Saint Tropez, and then you get an interesting collab. I mean, he collabs with Travis Scott on the song, too, but you get Take What You Want From Me featuring Ozzy, and that one was good and interesting. And then you get a more poppier song like Circles that has definitely grown on me over the months that it's come out. It's just Post Malone not afraid to go out of his comfort zone and try different things and actually use the singing voice that not a lot of rappers have to his advantage. Alright, so now that the honorable mentions are out of the way, we're going to drum roll right to number 1.
Burger King foot lettuce.
So number 1 this year, I have decided that it's not one, but 2 bands, 2 albums in this category this year. Now you might be surprised, but the reason I did this was I really couldn't choose the one to sit at number 1, so I was like, screw it, I'll put both of them at number 1, because they both came at a time in my life where 2019's been pretty weird for me. I went to Sheffield, did a good job there, graduated, and still searching for the job, so I'm kind of struggling with that. I lost my childhood dog, and that hit me really hard, and times were just down. I just wasn't feeling it. But these 2 albums, they definitely relate to me and were making me go, huh, there's someone who can, relate to me, and it made me feel better. And those albums, 9 by Blink-182, and with the sweep at the number 1 position in the best of, Korn's The Nothing. Korn mainly got me on the fact of the death part, and I know it may sound stupid, my dog died or whatever, but when you have a dog for 12 years, when you have a dog for 5 years, they basically become a part of your family, and when they pass away, it just, you're obviously going to be upset because you love that dog and you took care of them, and you loved them like family. And The Nothing dealt with the aspect of losing a loved one, considering Jonathan Davis lost his wife while they were in the middle of recording this album, and you can definitely hear his pains at the beginning, like with, I think it's called The End Begins, the little intro track at the beginning when he just breaks down at the end, and I think at the end of You'll Never Find Me, he kind of, just like freaks out, he's like, fuck, and you can just hear him kicking shit in the studio, he's just so frustrated and upset, and you're just like, wow, this is real. And with Blink-182's 9, I ragged on the singles before it came out, and I'm just as surprised as you that it made my #1 list on the year-end list. But I just listened to it and I went, this has a lot of signs of the Untitled album in 2003. I mean, it may not be fully that because there's a lot more popular elements on it, but they were making fun music again while also making it relatable and sad, if you get my drift. And it was just kind of like the emo part of me returned. I know that's weird to say, considering the black hair too now, but, I just felt like it came to me at a time when it was needed. Both of these albums did, and that's why I couldn't divide them up and pick where they needed to be. So, they're the co-winners of 2019. Congratulations, Korn and Blink-182. You caught my attention the most. I cannot stop listening to either of these albums. Cold. Just go listen to Cold for Korn and you will be just utterly blown away. Blink-182 I'd recommend the first time. No Heart to Speak Of. Black Rain. Runaway. And Heaven. I couldn't tell you more about these albums. They're just fantastic and really made my 2019 a whole lot better. So yeah, guys, that's it for the year-end list. Hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, and just Happy New Year as well. Enjoy yourself. Don't get caught up in anybody's mess. And hopefully next year things will go well for all of you. And that's about it, guys. The schedule starts January 1st. Wednesdays and Fridays. So stay tuned for that. Tell me in the comments below what your favorite albums of the year were. Which ones did you disagree with me on? You can tell me in the comments below. Give me your list. Have a Merry Christmas, and I will catch you in the next one.